Lamentations is a book of, lamenting. Written out of the exile experience, the Hebrew people, told through the prophet Jeremiah, are dealing with loss and pain. It is impossible to overstate the intensity and complexity of the suffering that came to a head in the destruction of Jerusalem, and then the continued exile into 70 years of Babylon, because the loss they experienced was total. The worst that can happen to body and spirit, to people and nation, happened there. And suffering is a huge and unavoidable element in the human life. Some say to be human is to suffer, and that no one is exempt. Even today, you still find suffering continuing both in large-scale horrors and in personal agonies. But Lamentations does not seek to explain suffering or offer a program for the elimination of suffering. Instead, it insists that God enters into our suffering and is our companion in suffering. In Lamentations chapter 3, for perhaps the very first time in the book, hope is allowed. Having sunk so low in his soul, Jeremiah now remembered something, or rather someone, that started that hope within him: our God. And in Lamentations, Jeremiah recalls God's mercies are new every morning. His compassion never fails. His faithfulness remains even in suffering. In Habakkuk 3, the prophet reminds us that though the fig tree does not bud and there are no grapes in the vines, so the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen or no cattle in the stable, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God, my Savior. The sovereign Lord is my strength. The prophet Isaiah reminds us that a bruised reed God does not break, a smoldering wick he does not snuff out. The prophet Zephaniah writes, "The Lord your God is with you, the mighty warrior who saves, he takes great delight in you." In Psalm 34, David reminds us that the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and restores those crushed in spirit. Time and time again, we are reminded that in suffering, God is there to bring hope. Hope that on the cross, amid suffering and death, our Jesus cried out, "It is finished." And while suffering and loss still remain, its power, its sting are removed. And so this we call to mind. Living in faith and hope, we say, "The Lord is my portion, therefore I hope in him." The Lord is good to those who wait for him. To the soul who seeks him, it is good that one should hope and wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord.